Good afternoon, and welcome to the second episode of Inside the Designer Studio. My name is Elliot Goldman. My co-host is Veronica Diaz.
Hi there.
And our guest today is a longtime friend and acquaintance of mine, NormVarney. And welcome, Norm.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So why don't you tell us who you are and a little about what you do?
Okay. Well, I am NormVarney. What I do. So I organize sound. That's what I do. So I'm an acoustician. I have been into music since I was very little, like 3.5. When the Beatles came on the Ed Sullivan Show, that's really what did it. So the next day I went and got the 45 of I Want to Hold Your Hand, and I started collecting music from there, and I started playing drums, and I had a little portable reel-to-reel, and I recorded stuff, and I've always been interested in music and reproducing it really well. So that's who I am. That's what I do.
Cool. So just for a little background, you're located in Ohio, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you grew up where?
Southern California.
So how did you get from Southern California to Ohio?
Well, so about 20 years ago or so, Owens Corning, they have their Science and Technology Center here in Central Ohio, and they have their acoustics lab here. Mm-hmm. And they hired me as a senior acoustical engineer and moved us out here. That was about 20 years ago.
Oh, cool. I mean, I met you when you were working with Bruce Brisson, so I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's right. That was in Northern California. We lived in Northern California for a while there, and I had a high-end store there before I started working for MIT for about 12 years in Northern California.
Cool. I mean, just some background. I met Norm when back when I used to have a retail store, probably early like the 90s, maybe early 2000s,
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And Norm had helped me design a couple of sound rooms in 3 or 4 different stores that we did. And then Norm founded AV Room Service. I'm not sure when that exactly happened date-wise. And now Norm, I think you still do that, right? You still do consulting on room design and room acoustics. And you also make a series of products, which, why don't you just tell us a little bit about what you make? Okay.
Yeah, so AV Room Service started in 2009. When I was working at Owens Corning, they had some asbestos litigations occur, and they nearly shut down they were planning on shutting down the acoustics lab. They shut down the acoustic systems business, which I was a part of, to one guy. And what they were proposing to do, for me to do, was not what I was interested in doing and not what they hired me to do. So they were nice enough to allow me to start my own business and keep me on for 6 months while I grew that, which was fantastic. So that was back in 2009. Since then, I've worked for them as a subcontractor, and I've also worked for Kinetics Noise Control, where I developed acoustical products for them. But yeah, we did start, I said 2009. It was 2001. 2009 is when we introduced our first noise vibration product, which was the sound damp, it's a constrained layer damping that goes on floors and walls and ceilings. And then we've developed several other products, including the equipment vibration protectors, cable vibration protectors, and the latest thing is our Polyflex polycylindrical diffusers. But we've got many other products. The frequency response panel system is something that has been around since 2001. That's an offshoot of a product that I did with Owens Corning.
Norm, I have a question for you. So if you could express this as a percentage, how much if it would be for the success of a room to have acoustical treatment?
That's a great question. So you can have you can have state-of-the-art equipment and put it in a poor environment or a mediocre environment, and it's only going to be as good as that environment. You can have mid-fi and put it in a very controlled environment and have great sound. So in my mind, it's the most important part, because it controls, it has the last say. It doesn't care what kind of equipment you have, but it's going to dictate how good the sound quality is. So it's critical. Now, when we are talking about the room and acoustics, it is pretty all encompassing in that means also how things are set up, physically, where the speakers are in the room, where you are in the room, how they're oriented and how they're calibrated. All of that is part of it. So it's not just the room itself when you're talking about acoustics, it's how the sound propagates in that room as well. And that's really what we're talking about, and organizing it rather than having it be chaotic. So it's critical. To answer your question, it's critical.
I agree, totally agree. I think that the things that I talk to my clients about, and I know Norm and I have discussed, is that the proper setup and treatment of the room, where the speakers are positioned, where you sit, is I don't know what the percentage is, but it has an amazing or a really astounding effect on what you can get out of your gear. And as you said, you can have what some people might consider mid-fi in a really good room, and it can sound incredible. And the opposite, you can have really great stuff in a really bad room, and it doesn't work at all. So
Right.
Anyway, so we're gonna have a little fun now, Norm. Veronica and I have put together. It's not a test. It's sort of a bunch of questions, and just have fun with it and see what happens. So we're gonna ask you questions, and you want to ask the first one, or you want me to ask the first one?
You go, Elliot.
Okay. So Norm, what sound do you love?
Wow, what a huge, broad question. What sound do I love? Oh my gosh, there are so many. I love the sound of a pipe organ. I love the sound of a great chorus. I love the sound of synthesizers too, like a Moog synthesizer.
You only get one.
I only have one. That's like asking me my favorite color. That's way easier to answer than what's my favorite sound. No one's ever asked me that. That's really tough.
That's good. Go ahead, Veronica.
Oh, well, so but what sound do you hate? Is there any?
Yeah, buzzes and rattles drive me insane. Yeah, so I don't like those kinds of noises. Definitely
understand that. So, if you weren't doing what you were doing, what profession would you like to be or do?
A studio drummer. That's what I wanted to do for the longest time. Then I got married. I came kind of close. That's what I was trying to do out in Southern California. And I was playing in big bands and orchestras and rock and roll bands and everything in between.
That's great.
I played and recorded quite a bit in and around Hollywood.
But in the audio business are ex-drummers. It really is.
Yeah. Well, again, it's for the love of music, and I love playing music, and especially when the groove is right and the music starts playing you. Mm-hmm. That's the ultimate.
I guess that's what a musician means by in the zone. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah.
I play a little guitar as a kid, not a little guitar, but I played a little guitar.
A little guitar like this big.
I wasn't very good at it, but I never got to that point. But I think that, having played sports, there are days when it just all comes together, and the the sum of the parts is much greater than the whole. And I guess
Right.
in music, there are times when that happens, when the whole thing just works. It's really cool. Veronica, you're up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hot question. So what do you think about the wife acceptance factor? Is that a real thing or is just
Oh,
an
sure.
excuse?
Oh no, it's definitely a real thing, especially coming from the the acoustical side of things, because we have to deal with that all the time. We're talking about trying to make giant panels disappear, and for example, with our frequency response panel system, we do that. We have all these acoustical panels behind, on the wall and the ceiling and stuff. And then we stretch fabric over it so that when you walk in, you have no idea there's any acoustical products there. They're all underneath. They're all concealed. And that's so that it looks great. And yeah, the wife acceptance factor. I mean, it doesn't have to be the wife. It can be the guy too. I mean, decor, that's especially when you're talking about real high-end customers, that's a big deal. So they typically want it to disappear. Sometimes it's just the opposite. Sometimes they want to show it off, so yeah, it's a real thing.
Okay, here's one that's a difficult question, or maybe not. What's your favorite curse word and why?
Oh God. I try not to use any. My favorite one would probably be the S word. And boy, I don't know when I last said it.
Okay, well, I don't want to make you curse if you don't curse, but realize we're on YouTube, so you can say a curse word if you want. But if you're one of those people that doesn't say them, I'm not.
Yeah, I will refrain.
Okay, my turn. Do you have an idol or hero in the audio world?
In the audio world? Oh yeah, gosh, there's so many. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of people that I look up to in the audio world. Mainly, I would say these are mastering engineers or recording engineers. But of course, there's also people like Nelson Pass. I mean, there are a lot of typically, I guess they're engineers. There are also a lot of people like Roger Scoff, I think, is a guy who is just so knowledgeable and sharing of his knowledge. And so I look up to guys like that love to share their knowledge. And I like to share my knowledge too. So yeah, I like personalities like that.
So as a follow-up to that, if you could collaborate with anybody in the audio world, who would that be?
It would need to be an influencer, somebody who is a mover and shaker.
Besides us.
Yeah. Boy, who are some of the big? Michael Fremer is a mover and shaker. He, I mean, somebody like that would be great for me in that he has a large pool. He can reach a lot of people. And my problem is I'm not great at marketing, and we're a small company, and so we're not many people are aware of us. And again, marketing, I'm trying to wear so many hats, and so it's hard to do that. So yeah, I'm
not wearing one today at all.
What's that?
You're not wearing one today at all. I'm just being
yeah, but I should be.
Veronica, you're up.
Oh, yeah. I'd like to ask you, where do you see yourself or your company in 5 years?
So as I'm getting older, I am looking at developing more products and shying away from the consultant and designing, wearing that hat. because I feel, if something happens to me, then, there's no more income. With the products that we're developing, there's good revenue coming in, and that can continue should something happen to me. So in 5 years, I'm hoping to be having enough revenue there that I might be able to travel more with my wife, see my kids, and do things like that. Where right now I'm putting in a lot of hours to get there. So that's where I hope to be in 5 years, is not working as many hours and being a little bit more relaxed.
Good. Okay, so as a final,
And playing drums more too. I don't get to play drums enough.
definitely got to do what you love. I think,
Yeah,
as a note, just as you get older, and I'm getting older too, you realize that you don't have unlimited
don't.
time, and you try to stay away from the things you don't want to do and do more of the things that you do want to do. And I think it's a good lesson for anybody in life. So
yeah.
last question. What do you think is the greatest myth in audio?
Well, the whole thing around acoustics, I don't know that it's so much a myth as it is a misunderstanding, and there's confusion. So people are, especially in the high-end world, audiophiles that are constantly buying new gear before addressing the real issue, which is most likely an electrical or an acoustical or a combination of the two. So the fundamental things like the electrical and the acoustics are being ignored, and instead they're just kind of chasing their tail, trying to buy a new preamp or a new cartridge or something to get them to the audio nirvana that they can never get to, because these fundamental problems are an obstacle. They're in their way.
Great answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, that's the that's the biggest problem. I don't know, you wouldn't really call it a myth. As far as a myth, there sure are a lot of them, and I write articles about them all the time. Right off the top of my head, people will deal with acoustic panels, usually 1 or 2 inches, and they'll put too much of that material up there and not realizing that it's only addressing the top half of the piano, and it's not touching the lower half of the piano at all. And so they end up over absorbing, say, 500 hertz and up, and not touching 500 hertz and down. And then they don't know how to go about it. Another huge one is we could go on all day. Diffusers. Oh my gosh. Especially this year, people are making do-it-yourself diffusers that don't have a chance, don't stand a chance. They are they're making the wrong product, and they are putting it in the wrong location. This happens more often by far than not. So that's a huge, there's a lot of confusion out there.
Veronica?
Well, thank you very much, Norm, for being here, answering these questions. And
Absolutely.
thanks everybody for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank you very much for taking your time out and participating with us. I think you were great. It was a pleasure. I think
Truly.
for us getting to know you a little better, and we'll see you in the future. Probably see you at Expona.
Absolutely, for sure.
Wrap it up.
Yeah. All right, thank you.